right, fans, back with us again. He is a three-time World Outlaw Figure Eight champ, and he's coming off a huge win in Ohio. He's one of the baddest dudes in the figure eight racing world. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the driver of the number 5 machine. It's Ben Tunny.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going, my man?
Good.
Thank you
Sun
so much for
shining,
coming
work's
back.
over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sun
thank you.
shining. Yeah.
Sun shining, work's over for the day. We're at the race shop now, so all is good.
That's right. Hey, let's just knock it out of the park right here, right off the bat, and let all my fans and listeners out there know that if you're on the south side of Indy, or heck, even in the Indy area, and you need your car looked at, make sure you stop by Tony's Auto Service, 8320 Brookville Road, Suite H. Ask for my man Ben. Tell him Eddie B from the E's and B's sent you. They will get you back on track for sure.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
on, man. Thank you.
you
And
bet,
your
buddy.
local listeners, come on and see us.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always making sure anytime you post there on the social medias, I'm retweeting and
Yeah,
sharing
thank
that
you.
because I definitely know how that goes. Well, hey, Ben, here's what we got you on for this week. We know going down tomorrow night there at the Indianapolis Speedrome, it's another running of the Jake's 150. Big race. You know, I'm very excited for you and the whole Tony family leading up to this one, but I'm more excited because it's kind of a big debut in a bigger race for the new car, right?
Yeah, exactly. I see you got fired up with the right mood. You got your shirt that says Jake on it.
That's
I'm
right,
sure that
buddy.
wasn't coincidence,
Oh,
was it?
not at all. Not at all.
No, yeah, it's a big race weekend. It's probably one of our biggest regular season points races of the season. So I'm definitely excited, and I'm hoping for a good turnout of cars.
Well, we know this. You got 2 wins under your belt there in the Jake's 150
Yeah,
competing this weekend. Now, listen, if you pull off that big W like we think you are here at the E's and B's, that's going to put you right up there with 4 other guys with 3 wins. That would make 5 people 3 wins. I'm really hoping that's going to happen. What's your thoughts going into this weekend?
yeah, those four guys with 4 wins. I think Mark Tunney, Jesse Tunney, Eddie Van Meter, and R.J. Norton Jr. And for the new listeners or people who may not know much about figure eight and may listen from far away, those R.J. Norton and Eddie Van Meter, they were racing probably in the late 80s, early, all through the 90s with mine and Mark and Jesse's dads. And those guys are veterans, old school, great drivers, legends of the sport. And they've got a lot of wins. Them guys are going to be tough to beat. Jesse and Mark, both really good drivers. They are really good at conserving their tires on longer races. They know how to stay in touch with the leaders without going too hard and using up their equipment. And then I'm kind of the middle. I kind of struggle with saving tires, but also if things are working right, I can be dominant at the same time. This new car, I've only got 1 race under my belt at Speedrome on the regular season little tires. We do run a little 8-inch Hoosier during the regular season at Speedrome, and on our bigger races, we run a 10-inch real sticky, grippy tire. So it's still a learning curve with this new car, but it has been really good for the limited time we have had with it. So I'm pretty pumped and pretty confident going into the weekend that we'll be up there towards the front somewhere.
I got you. Hey, since you're on the tire subject, let's just talk right
Yeah,
about it real quick. What's your
sure.
thoughts on this new tire roll? And then obviously I want to ask you about something else that's just been released here recently from American Racer, where there is a shortage of tires coming, and they're suggesting tracks start changing their policies and rules as well, you know, impounding tires and such. But I want to know from you, I asked Mark and Matt their thoughts on it, but what's your thoughts on this new tire roll?
Yeah, I didn't hear Mark and Matt's thoughts. I think they're, from knowing them and talking to them prior before, almost everybody loves the rule. It's called basically a tire impound rule, and we are not allowed to even buy or pick out our tires until the the pit gates open where we're going into the track on race day. Then there's a few guys out in that warehouse area, like a few officials, and one of them's just the guy that writes up your ticket to pay for them, and one of them's the track owners, and then some officials, and they're just basically hanging out watching, but you just pick out your 4 tires on the shelf and you bring your 4 wheels in, and they got a machine set up there with air tanks and all that. And you just mount your tires up and mark your number on them, and they just sit right in there until it's time to race. And they usually let us have a practice about, I don't know, 1 race before ours. So they'll let us come get our tires then, and we'll get a practice, and we're allowed to put our tires on right then. And then they'll run like another division. They'll have a feature, and then we go out and race. And at the end of the race, we still check each other's tires. And if there's any discrepancies or issues, they take a sample and send it off for a chemical lab to test and see if it meets their benchmark. This rule, I feel like, is the best they can do in order to keep us from doing the tire treatment and soaking stuff. And I'm glad that they've taken that off the table, because it sure was a headache. It's nasty and time consuming, expensive, and this puts it more back on the driver and the setup of the car versus who's got the best tire juice that makes your tires get the most grip, and who's got the best connections or secrets. And it gets back into working on your race car and working on yourself as a driver. So I think it's all good things.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree more with you. My thoughts is, also it holds them accountable, so, like you said, after the race, I see you guys down there checking. I love that part because, everybody's on the same page. But also, like I spoke before, I think, too, it's made the racing better. It's tightened things up. Obviously, we aren't turning the same amount of lap times as we normally were. But, man, really this year, it's been pretty close all the way around. We've had some amazing finishes there at the Indianapolis Speedrome. So I'm all for it. I think it's a great thing. I think going forward, as long as there is no shortage, it's going to be the future for most places around the short track world.
Yeah, the shortage is a scary thing. There's a track around here named Mount Lawn that are doing a weird thing where you can only buy 1 tire a race after the first one. I think that's good as far as it's cost effective, and it reduces the amount of waste on what we're using on tires. But that just gets into a weird deal for me. Like, I'd asked them a question about how that would work. Like, they have a guy that runs all season, and he's there from day 1. He gets his new set, and then every week he gets 1 new tire. Well, then you got a part-time race that shows up in the middle of June for maybe a bigger race, and it's his first time out. Well, he gets 4 new ones. I don't think it's fair that he gets 4 new ones. The other guy gets 1 just because it's his first race and it's on a bigger race that he can just kind of cherry pick. So I don't know what their rules are and the details of that, but if there's a way to kind of detail those little fine details out, I think that would be a cool thing too, because these tires that we run are $100 a piece, and a lot of the guys that are running up front are putting 4 new ones on a week. That's $400 each week just to go to the track. If you could do it on 1 tire, that starts to get a lot more feasible.
Yeah, out here in Colorado, they just announced just last week the Legend Series are going to a similar kind of rule, but it's a little different. What they're doing is you buy a set of 4, you have to race those on 5 weeks. They impound them each week, and you race them. Now, if you blow one, or if something happens, they allow that to change. But after the 5 weeks, you can buy another set of 4. Or you can buy 1, 2, 3, whatever. It doesn't matter. But once you buy those tires, no matter how many you buy, your 5 weeks starts right then and there. So if you bought 1 tire and kept 3 old ones, those 3 old ones are going to have to go 4 more or 5 more races, even though you bought 1 new one. So I think it's kind of going to change the thing a little bit here and there. But in the long run, I think you're right. With tires being so expensive, this is going to help out those lower budget race teams, hopefully, and maybe also bring the fields in all divisions, not just figure 8, a little closer together. Hey, let me ask you something that I've asked your cousin just a couple of weeks ago. I want to know, what do you prefer more, Ben? Do you like the lap count races, or the timed races?
The only thing that makes me maybe lean towards the timed races is usually they're big races, so they pay real well. But as far as lap to time, it doesn't really make a big difference to me. Either way, I know that one's longer or one's shorter than the other just from experience. So it doesn't matter to me. They're all the timed races are what I call endurance or longer events. So I don't think either way the racing is still about the same. So one's just a longer race and one's a shorter race. But Uh, the 1 hour itself, that's a regular season timed race. It doesn't feel much different than like the Jake's 150, only a little bit longer. So when you're racing, you can't tell if I'm running a timed race or a lap race. Either way, you're still trying to maintain and save your tires and be there at the end, just as you would if it was a 200 lap race or a 1 hour race.
Awesome. So no preference. That's cool.
Yeah, no
let
preference really.
Yeah, let me switch gears on you a little bit here. Ben,
Sure.
if you wasn't a race car driver, what would you be? And it can't be anything racing.
If I could be anything I wanted to, just like snap my fingers, or
Yeah.
realistically.
Yeah, if you could be anything you wanted to, snap your fingers. Any outside of the racing world, what would it be?
A weatherman.
Okay, a weatherman.
I've always wanted to be a weatherman. I'm always the weirdo watching the Weather Channel and the radar and telling people what the hourly forecast is and the highs. And I've always been infatuated with weather. So I think that I would be the weatherman. I just didn't want to go to school that long and not be able to race. So I just never did. But I thought I wouldn't want to do the TV part, but I'd like to be a guy watching it and telling people what to say on the TV.
Okay. I didn't see that one coming.
I thought about an astronaut too, but I'm scared of heights. So once I got going, I'd be like, "Oh, put me back down."
Oh, wait! We couldn't knock you out like Mr. T and then put you on the rocket.
Probably. If you put me asleep and then flew me up, and then I could wake up and start going, I'd probably be all right with that. I'm like, "Whoa, I missed the scary part. It's cool now. I can float around."
Yeah, right. Well, hey, you know this here on the E's and B's. We're a wrestling and sports related podcast. I gotta ask you this one, buddy.
Yeah.
Who out of the figure eight racing world would you like to wrestle, and why?
Wrestle. I don't know. Let's see. I think it'd be fun to wrestle Eddie Van Meter, just because they say he's the bull and he's always bullying people on the track. I'd like to bully him around in a ring and see if he wants to throw some elbows and bump in there.
Yeah. I would love to see that one for sure.
He'd probably kill me in there too, but it'd be fun to do it.
No, I don't think so.
It'd be fun to wrestle.
Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you this. Which car do you like better, Ben? The new or the old one?
Well,
I know they're two different cars. Yeah, two different builds.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's things I like about both, but I think overall I like the new one just a tick better. I think the new one is going to be better on the bigger tires with more grip and better at other tracks around like Florida and all that, because it turns really well. On the little tires at Speedrome like last weekend, it could be a little bit better on the rear grip maybe, but that's what I'm still working on as being new to that car. My old car, it had really good rear grip. It just was hard to get to turn with the bigger tires, and I had the same motor in each car. So when I finished my new car, I just took the engine out of the old one, put it in the new one, and so it's not a horsepower difference at all. But when your car is tight and stuff, it bogs it down and makes it look like you have less power than what you do. And I didn't change motor at all, but felt like I was able to keep up better on the bigger tires for that 90-minute race than what I was on my older car. So if this newer car puts me in position for those bigger races on bigger tires and the ones that have the most meaning and basically the bigger races that pay better and have the most meaning, if I can be more competitive for those, and I'm obviously going to lean towards the newer car. The old one is competitive and fast every week, week in and week out. It's always good on little tires, but when it comes to the big races on big tires and other tracks, it's not as versatile, I don't feel like, as the new one.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad that you like the new one. We're very excited for you to be getting in that thing again tomorrow night. Like I said, fans, Ben Tunny, the driver, the number 5 T8 Outlaw machine going down Jake's 150. I just got a couple more for you here, Ben. I'll let you go so you can get back to working on that fast hot rod.
Sure.
Let me ask you this, buddy. Do you consider yourself a role model?
Not off the track, but on the track, I try to. Off the track, I don't focus enough on anything else. I put all my effort and all my marbles into the basket of racing. But when it comes to that, I would say that I could consider myself a role model for kids that can take the good with the bad and still be a good person, with the fans and the kids after the races. Try to be a good role model for future racers that are coming up through the ranks and starting out in go-karts or front wheel drives. And I'm trying to show them the right way to race, give them that like a Rocky Balboa mentality of a person as a race car driver, where you do everything the right way as a good guy and a good person, but when it comes time to fight and never give up and have heart and determination and perseverance, you show all that on the track and you leave it all out there. And I try to show that, I'm going to give everything I got every lap, but I'm still going to be the good guy in the end.
Absolutely. I don't think I could word it any better. I agree with you. When it comes to me introducing people to the figure eight racing world, there's only one family that I show them, and it's obviously the fastest, the best, and obviously the most loyal, and it's the Tunny family. And I think you guys are doing an amazing job. You guys have been doing this for so long that it's hard not to say that you guys are not the role models for everyone out there at the Indianapolis Speedrome. Hey, well, this last question here, and then I'll turn the tables over to you, let you promote all your sponsors and talk a little bit about yourself before we get out of here. But I got to know this, Ben. When it's all said and done, what do you want the Ben Tunny racing legacy to be?
The guy people thought didn't have the most, but did the best. And the one that if anybody could pick a race car driver to be in their race car, no matter what division or what class or what, that I would be the guy that come to their head first. The guy that they would be their go-to most versatile driver. Basically the Michael Jordan mindset of I want to be the best all the time. So when I quit racing and I'm not able to do it anymore and I'm an old guy sitting in a chair, hanging out at home, I want to be the guy that they're talking about. He was the best. You won't be as good as him. There's never going to be another one like him. I want to be the guy that sets that bar. I don't know if I ever will. You got guys like Mark and Mark's dad and Jack Dawsey Jr. winning 6 3 hours and Eddie Van Meter winning every freaking week. It feels like, it's hard to compete with that. And if you're not the one winning those races and coming home with the trophy and the checks, it's hard to say that you're the best. But there's sometimes, LeBron or Michael Jordan didn't always take home the ring either. So, but when they come to in conversations, they're still at the top.
Well, over here at the E's and B's in our eyes, we think you're doing an excellent job. You've been doing an excellent job. And I think if there's anybody out there that I would say as a role model, it would have to be the number 5 of Ben Tunny. Well, Ben, before I get out of here, you know how we do it here at the E's and B's. I'm going to turn the table over to you. Make sure you get your sponsors out there. And is there anything you got for old Eddie B?
Yeah. Well, we're on video here. So you podcast listeners, you may just listen to audio, but you might have some sitting there with the laptop watching the video. So we'll get you a virtual tour to thank my sponsors. We're here with the 5 car in the race shop, and we're not sitting in a studio. We got the old 5 car sitting here neglected with no engine, but we'll just go through and thank our sponsors. We got a new one that came on this year called Baker Boys Appliances. It's a brand new sponsor we picked up this year. A little one, S&M, painting and drywall. Bob's Cheer Door Pizza. Thunderstruck Performance working on the new power plant to hopefully having this thing for the 3 hour. Assurance Maintenance, new sponsor for the season also. And our good friend, Dave Sneed. He's our most loyal, longest sponsor we've had for the last 4 or 5 years. Thompson House, great bar with good wings, beer's cold. Then obviously T8 race cars. Bruce Tunny building a really great race car, which you have right here. Pro Touch Lawn Mowing. They're actually a family relative of ours. And then Buckethead's Fortville Auto Salvage and Truck. He just likes to call it fast. And then with Kentucky Clutch with Chris Harmon, one of our fellow racers, helps us out with some parts here and there. And then Napa's Auto Care Center with Pete Shuffett. He's been helping us for the last few years. I'd like to thank all those guys, Dobbs Metalwork, Tunny's Auto Service, and you for promoting us on this show at the E's and B's. I appreciate that. That's a sponsor in itself. Thank you.
You bet, buddy. And we'll always be here for you. We're definitely going to be pulling hard for you tomorrow night at the Jake's 150. Everybody coming to us from Indianapolis, Indiana. It's the 3-time world figure eight champion, Ben Tunny. All right, my man. Thank you.
Thank you.